Welcome to your simplified coin review. Appreciate all the subscribers, all the likes. Before we go further, go ahead and hit that like button. Here at your simplified coin review, we're going to take coins that are complicated and we're going to try to make it so that you understand it. Today, we are going to be looking at Internet of Services token. Internet of Services is similar in a way, I guess you could say, to Internet of Things, except for instead of things, it's services. So let's go ahead and dive into this coin. All right, guys, so this coin was particularly difficult to research because there's really nothing like it. The idea of what it's trying to do, there are actually a lot of other coins, even like Ethereum or Neo, that are trying to do something similar. But Internet of Services token has created a lot of their own terms. So because of that, it's made it a little bit more difficult to try to figure this out. Another thing that I found is that this is a very hot button coin. People either really hate it or they really like it. And there were a lot of negative reviews on Internet of Services token that I found. And the reason why is because they create their own terms. And so people are really confused on what these things mean. And so some people think that because Internet of Services token made up their own terms and their own, proof of believability instead of proof of stake or proof of work, that means that it's not legit. Well, I don't believe that. I think that this coin could be legit. I'm not here to tell you guys whether to buy this or not. I'm not here to give you financial advice. I'm here to help you guys understand what the coin does. So whether or not Internet of Service token actually ever does what it says it's going to do isn't really my concern. I'm just telling you what the goal of the token is. So I also found a lot of misinformation about this coin. I found one video that I'm not going to name where basically the guy is explaining what the Internet of Services is, and he's totally wrong. He doesn't have a clue what he's talking about. And, he seems like a nice guy. He's bigger than I am at this point. I think we will pass him one day. But at the same time, you've got to be careful when you're doing your own research. Internet of Services token is a pretty complicated token. So let's go ahead and look at the website. A word you'll see a lot with Internet of Services token is scalability. What scalability means, of course, is taking something that is not integrated, that is its infantile stages, and making it so that it is universal and everyone can use it. So Internet of Services token is trying to make a smart economy, kind of like Neo. We've talked about that. Check out our Neo video or our ontology video. Sorry, we talk about Neo a good bit in it, and we talk about what a smart economy is. And so what Internet Service token is trying to do is create an economy of online providers, not internet service providers that I saw another guy talk about, but online providers of services. So something like Amazon, for instance, provides online goods to people, websites that provide digital goods to people, websites that offer online gambling as a service, online advertising as a service. So they're trying to create an economy of all of these different types of businesses, and they're trying to create where one blockchain can host them all so they can all work together. And so you would say, like, okay, why is that important that they all work together? Well, we'll get to in a little bit the different aspects of Internet Services token, and I hope it'll make a little bit more sense to you. So the Internet of Services offers a secure and scalable infrastructure for online service providers. Its high TPS, scalable and secure blockchain, and privacy protection provide infinite possibilities for online service providers to serve their customer base. So what is iOS? So if you look at this chart, basically it's an economy of service providers that goes through the blockchain and then is serving their customers on the other side. So what they say here is, and this is important, this is about the scalability I was talking about, the iOS, the Internet of Services, is designed to fill the void. In our vision, the iOS is a next-generation blockchain technology that provides the network infrastructure to support a service-oriented ecosystem. The iOS platform does not only provide its users a completely decentralized way to exchange online services and digital goods, but it also enables developers to deploy large-scale decentralized apps with the ability to support mass number of users. And this is where we get into the terms they create. With a series of groundbreaking innovations such as efficient distributed efficient distributed sharding and believable first consensus approach, which is proof of believability, we are able to increase the system's throughput enormously while guaranteeing security. So it's such a mouthful. Okay, so let's go back to the efficient distributed sharding technology. And this here is how you're supposed to visualize the sharding. Now, each one of these bubbles here, if you will, it's certainly not a bubble, but each one of these shapes here and here, these are all like micro networks. They're like networks within the network. So these lines here are the information that's being passed back and forth between the networks. Now, I want you to visualize this. If you took all of these lines here, okay, this might be a diagram showing what one transaction would look like. Each one of these lines represent a piece of the transaction, a piece of the information that's being passed back and forth. And so what Internet Services Token is doing, it is taking these transactions, it's breaking them down into microtransactions, and then it's sending it to micro networks so that they're able to process those transactions much faster. In computer science, is a principle known as divide and conquer, but of course that doesn't just apply to computer science. Divide and conquer is a principle that's been around for a long time, way before computers were invented. So what they're trying to do is process these transactions ultra fast. 100,000 transactions per second is what they say they can do through this EDS, this distributed sharding network. So let's move to the hot button issue with Internet of Services Token. A groundbreaking consensus mechanism. Unlike proof of work that we have with miners and Bitcoin, unlike proof of stake that we have with Ethereum and other tokens and coins, this is using something called proof of believability. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think they chose a pretty dumb name for it, because the name proof of believability, it doesn't really communicate what it is, okay? So we designed the proof of believability mechanism to eliminate the need for an energy-hungry proof of work protocol, which stands as a barrier to blockchain scaling up for widespread adoption. Believability of a node is calculated based on contribution and behaviors. Meanwhile, fairness is ensured with algorithmic randomness. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain this to you guys. It's pretty complicated. Like I said, if they chose a different word, like maybe proof of trust or proof of confidence. Proof of confidence is probably a better way to think of this. Okay, so on the Internet Services Network, you have nodes. You have two different groups of nodes. You have one group of nodes that they call the believable group. And then you have another group of nodes, which are your regular nodes. What they're allowing these in the believable group to do is to have an easier algorithm, to be able to process much faster, right? But each one of those nodes that are in the believable group, they have to be able to prove, if you will, that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they are working that algorithm much faster. And so basically they get a rite of passage to be the believable network. And then every once in a while, the transactions are going to be, well, not every once in a while. For all the transactions, after they go through the believable node, then they have to go down to the regular nodes. And basically the regular nodes are there to guess check them. They're there to proofread or to make sure that the believable nodes are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So let me explain it to you like this. This is your simplified coin review. That may sound crazy to you. Let me explain to you what this would be like, okay? This is like you may work somewhere, and let's say you're the boss, okay? And you have a bunch of employees where you work, okay? You have one person on your team that you know is very good and very efficient, okay? So you give them the bulk of the work. They can do the bulk of the work, right? They can work faster. They may be smarter than the other people that work there. They may be more driven, okay? So you give that person the bulk of the work because they've taught you that over time you can trust them. You can trust them. You can say, hey, do this job. My assistant where I work, I run a nonprofit organization, and my assistant, she is awesome. Big shout out to her. She's a no-coiner and a hater, but that's okay. she's so good. I just know that I can give her jobs to do. I can say, hey, make sure this gets done. And I know she's going to do it. And she's able to do things that I don't have time to do as the head of the organization. So what I have to do every once in a while is I have to check and make sure that she did what she was supposed to do. But she almost always does it. Every once in a while I'll catch, maybe like one thing that just slipped through the cracks. But that's kind of how this network is. I've got someone who I've learned over time that I can trust. So I give them more work. She does the work very quickly. And then I can go back behind her and check and make sure that everything gets done. And of course, if all of a sudden she just stopped doing what she was supposed to be doing, then, I'd have to replace her with someone else. So that's kind of how this proof of believability works, is that there are nodes on this network that are proven to be more trustworthy. There's another aspect of this coin that's called Servi, S-E-R-V-I, and these are kind of like, these are coins that are passed back and forth between all the nodes. And the more Servi that these nodes have, the more believable they are, the more confidence they're given, the more trusted they are. So they do have a system to pick which ones of these nodes are going to be in the believable group, but this is basically a way that they can process stuff faster. And then I guess the one question I would have, and what I don't really understand about this token, so if you know, drop as a comment. I would love to know the answer to this question, is that what happens when they have some of these nodes that are in the believable group that get double checked and they are seen to not be trustworthy anymore, so they get moved out of the believable group? What happens to the transactions? Are they just slower? I assume that's probably what it means. It probably just means that the transactions that the believable group is supposed to be processing gets processed slower, which will kind of clog up the network. So that's what proof of believability is. Okay, so let's take a look at the roadmap. Q2 of 2017, about a year ago, they had the idea. Q4 last year, they started developing it. And this is where they're going. Of course, we're already past Q1 and into Q2. So they've already launched the private test net. They're implementing the data sharding system right now. Next quarter, they're releasing the smart contract document. Then they're going to deploy the HUDs and supporting modules to the testnet, which is the data storage aspect of this coin. Q1, deploying to iOS VM to the testnet. Q2, testing and security audit. Q2, 2019, launching the iOS client network. And Q3 is the official release of the Internet of Services network. It's called, version 1 is called Athena. Then Q4, they'll start launching the apps. And Q4 also, they will be optimizing with machine learning implementation, which basically just means making the network better. They have quite a robust team, and they really like touting all of their members. Terrence Wang has a master's degree from Princeton. You have people in here with master's degree and bachelor's degrees from Emory, Tufts University, I don't really know what that is, Cornell University, Johns Hopkins University, and there are just a lot more on here, Harvard, and there's a lot of really smart people working on this coin. And when you have teams of people that may not be as recognizable names, but they have this kind of structured educational background, you got to think they know what they're doing. It doesn't seem like these guys are working on a scam. I think they believe in what they're doing. So one way that you can tell some of the good coins from the bad coins. And, each of these coins have their good and bad. But I would say one really good thing about the Internet of Services is that they have a killer social media team. They tweet a pretty good bit. They tweet almost every day. They post pictures of their team. Here is one of them at a meeting. And it's just really cool to see their social media aspect, where they go to their conferences. If you find a coin that doesn't have a good social media team or a good marketing team, what are they doing? All right, so we're just going to look at CoinMarketCap for a minute. Right now, the price is about 4 cents. There's really no reason for me in these videos to talk about where the current price is, just for the simple reason that you may be watching this video a couple months down the road or a couple weeks down the road, and it may not be that relevant. So what we really want to focus on is the circulating supply. Right now, it's 8.4 billion, and the total supply is 21 billion. So it is a quarter of what Ripple is as far as its total supply, which is 84 billion. So let's look at the chart just released in January of this year. And of course, it had quite a spike. I believe that was probably the launch of the coin, or maybe it got put on a big exchange. But as you can see, it's just ever since then, in March and April, it's had a steady climb, which I think is really good because we know Bitcoin, of course, it rose the last couple of days. We're in the middle of April right now, but the fact that Internet of Service Token has been going up while Bitcoin has pretty much been declining except for the last days, I think that says that a lot of people believe in this project. So right now, Internet of Services Token is checking in at number 53. So what are my final thoughts on Internet of Services Token? Do I like Internet of Services Token? What is a price prediction? I don't know. I think that I like it. I like the idea of it. I just don't know if reinventing the wheel with the proof of believability, it almost seems like it's too complicated of an idea for, like, it work in my explanation, right, of my assistant at the organization I run, like, that makes sense to you. You can understand that. But how does that work in a digital world? How does trust actually get passed back and forth? And I think that is something that we are going to see become more normalized. You know, like, imagine if I sat you down and tried to explain the internet to you 30 years ago. You would have thought I was insane. That we would be able to reach each other all the way across the world, and that all of information in the world would be at our fingertips. Just about. There's hardly anything I've ever needed to know that maybe I couldn't find it on the internet, but that it didn't exist on the internet. So one thing I do like about this token is the reputation on the blockchain. Basically, that's just a fancy way to say reviews. You get service from a provider on the iOS network, and then you leave them a review. And that review can't be changed. So, I mean, if you have crappy service, then that's going to suck for you. But it is a permanent ledger of reviews. So I think that is appealing because we live in this world right now where people are constantly making fake reviews. You can pay people on Fiverr, pay them on Upwork to go make a bunch of fake reviews for you. I guess to estimate, I could be wrong, but I think I'm right, probably at least 50% of reviews on the internet are fake. At least, if not a lot more than that. So I think there is a need for that. There's definitely a need for scalability, putting multiple businesses on a blockchain. But ultimately, I just don't know if Internet Services Token will be the one to do it the best. Maybe they will. Maybe they will prove to me, show me their believability, if you will, their proof of believability, and show me that this will be the token to rule them all. But I think that be careful investing in something like this. Be careful investing in something that's at infantile stages. Something like EOS, something like Tron, something like Internet of Services Token. Something like Verge. These coins don't actually have anything attached to them yet. They don't have products. They don't have the network. They're still creating it. So if you're going to buy into one of these, then know what you're buying into. Know that you are buying into something that you think is going to be worth something in the future. Like, think about if you were to have invested in Microsoft before it was a public company, or if you bought into the idea of Apple from Steve Jobs and Wozniak, can't think of his first name, but if you bought into their ideas that they were trying to explain to you what they were going to do and you want to invest money in them, like, that's fine. But you should have known that there was no guarantee that this was going to come to fruition. There's no guarantee that Internet of Service Token is going to do what it says it's going to do. I believe I can guarantee you that they're going to try. They're going to try really hard. I think they do have a passionate team behind them. But are they going to be able to convince businesses to come to their blockchain and come to their Internet of Services, even if they have it? I just don't have the answers to those questions. So at the end of the day, I think it's a great idea. Should you invest in it? Of course, not financial advice. Look into it. Do your own research. I hope you've been able to understand a little bit about what Internet of Services Token is, and I hope that we've simplified it for you. So that was your simplified coin review.